Simple rhetoric is for simple minds, and the political scene doesn't need any more dumb people in it. The alt-centre are clown world's good guys. They outright reject political fanaticism on account that it ignores the human will to avoid suffering. So they don't fit into boxes neatly enough to be someone else's tools. All right, well, hello Internet, it's Vince and I, back again with week 5 of That Was the Week That Was in 2023. Hey Vince, how you doing?
Hey Bob, I'm doing really well, just extremely warm here on the South Island, trying to stay cool.
Good luck with that. I think you're going to have a hard week this week. Okay, we're going to just jump straight in here, Vince. The Fed raised its benchmark interest rate by 0.25 percentage point, which is the highest since October 2007. However, in their post-meeting statement, they mentioned that inflation had eased. And so the S&P closed higher and NASDAQ added 2%.
I think that the official cash rate in the United States, the federal funds rate, is now so high because inflation might be easing. It might be no longer increasing as fast as it was, but it's not really sinking. It's still above 7% in the United States. So I still expect the federal funds rate to climb up above 5%. Perhaps by the end of the year, it might be closer to 6%, depending on if inflation goes down. I think the stock market rally was because of false and misplaced optimism. People have jumped the gun, in my opinion. They think that the lower federal funds rate rise of only 25 basis points, I think it was 75 basis points last time. I think the market has interpreted this lesser rise as a sign that inflation is going to come down, but there's no actual sign of it coming down yet. It's just not going up as fast as it previously was. So I think we'll see a bit of reality coming to sink in coming weeks. And I think also we're going to see a basis point rise, a significant one here in New Zealand, when the Reserve Bank of New Zealand raises their official cash rate later on this month. So the 25 basis point rise in the United States, I think that's going to mean that we have either 50 or another 75 here in New Zealand.
Wow, okay, well, we'll have to wait and see. So I found another interesting article, and I'm not sure how valid it is, but a fellow called Dr. Tom Shimabakro, I think, director of the CDC's Immunization Safety Office, said that they were aware of reports of people experiencing debilitating illness and long-lasting health problems following the COVID vaccine. Do you think this is an acknowledgement of some sort, or is it just more weasel words?
I've been reading articles recently from people in the scientific community all over the West who have said that they believe that the scientific community more or less got it wrong when it came to the initial need for everybody to take this vaccine. I think a lot of them are starting to realize now that the overall side effects were severe enough that many people would have been better off not having taken it in the first place. And the widespread COVID vaccine mandates were probably a bad thing. But this understanding has yet to reach the political class. It's only scientists who really have cottoned onto this at the moment. So it remains to be seen if the media and politicians are gonna catch on.
Wow, that is going to be interesting.
Yeah, well, because a lot of people are so angry about having been forced in to take the vaccine. So I think the early days, but it's the beginning of an admission of guilt.
Yes, I was wondering if it was the beginning. Yeah. Okay, you alluded to our weather issues. New Zealand is having an extraordinary summer. You're up at 35 degrees C. I've hardly been out of the house since Christmas from the rains. And the floods in Auckland have now cost New Zealand, in New Zealand dollars, $470 million. We have 200 houses that are uninhabitable. We've got washed out highways. landslides and flooding all over farms, warnings of more inflation because we've had vegetable crops wiped out. What are the implications for the Hipkins government ahead of the October elections?
I think they've been mostly not involved with the flooding because Wayne Brown seems to have taken most of the flak, the Auckland mayor, for the problems. But as far as the government is concerned, they will be taking this as a sign that climate change is a real thing and that New Zealand has to be more serious about its climate change commitments, which are mostly going to involve using less hydrocarbon fuels. And I'm not sure about the specifics of how they intend to do this, but I know that the plan is very much to convince the population that it's necessary. So we're going to see a lot of people saying that the Auckland floods are climate change, and that it will necessitate certain measures. But I expect those measures to be unpopular on account of the fact that people don't want to spend less money. People, especially, don't want to drive around that less. They really, really, really don't want to have to walk or take a bike or take a bus. That's just the general sentiment among the New Zealand public, I feel. So I think the Hipkins government and whoever wins the election this year are going to they're going to have to make some really unpopular decisions relating to climate change measures. And I expect we're going to see some tantrums thrown.
Be another interesting.
Yeah.
Well, Vince, this is a fascinating week because we have good news for once in the house market. The price of houses in Auckland appears to be in free fall. We've got prices down 20% since their peak in 2021. And Barfoot and Thompson for January had the highest number of houses or properties for sale in 10 years. What do you think's happening in the housing market on top of everything else?
People just aren't buying. People realize that the housing prices are falling so fast that there's no real point in buying right now. You might as well just wait about 6 months, 12 months, and they may have fallen another 15 or 20%. Everyone's saying that this is the middle of the great collapse, and 20% isn't even that much. You saw how far Irish house prices went in 2007. I think they fell 55%. And some American states in 2007, when they had their crash, the subprime mortgage loan crash, they went down about 50% as well. The 20% in Auckland, to me, that's just the beginning. I expect we're going to see further house price decreases for the rest of this year. And I expect that by the end of this year, we'll be down a total of about 40%, which even then, is as large as that sounds, that's still not going to make it that easy for the average worker to own a home. If you consider that even a fall of 40% will mean that the average house price is $600,000 still. The average wage is about $55,000. So if you're able to save $15,000 a year, that's still 40 years of labour before you own your own house. The things are still going to be tough, but they'll be relatively less tough for renters and those looking to get into their first home.
Before I say interesting another time tonight, this is now bizarre. Australia lost a cesium 137 capsule, and apparently this 6mm by 8mm capsule fell off the back of a truck. And then it was found lying by the side of the highway by a search vehicle traveling at 70 kilometers per hour. And they now say that they're going to pick up this capsule and put it in the lead box, which seems a little late. Series of bad decisions? What do you put it down to?
It's definitely the weirdest story I've heard this week. For one thing, I don't understand why something that dangerous would be transported in such an unsecured manner that it could simply fall off the back of a truck. The other thing is, it's incredible that they found it because the capsule is only the size of a cap of a toothpaste tube. And to lose it, they lost it. They didn't know where it was, somewhere on 1,400 kilometers of road from the mine. It was used apparently in a mine as some kind of radiation gauge, and they were transporting it to Perth, 1,400 kilometers away, and it just disappeared. So it's astonishing that they were able to find it, but I guess it didn't fall that far from the road, and it emits so much radiation that the car driving along that highway was just able to pick it up. But it's definitely the strangest story I've heard this week.
A needle in a haystack story.
Yeah, very much. I mean, if you think of something that small along 1,400 kilometers of highway, you'd never ever have found it unless they had the radiation detector. So really, it's lucky that no one picked it up and thought it was something worth keeping.
Well, that was a very strange week. And I hope that by this time next year, we don't have absolute exhaustion from all these very unusual events.
It's been a strange week, all right, but I get the feeling that things are going to get stranger and stranger as Clown World develops more and more, especially with the economic conditions and with the war in Ukraine. I think things are just going to get even weirder.
Well, Vince, that was the week that was.
Cheers, Internet, and I'll catch you next week.
Altcentrism is more a matter of wisdom than intelligence. As such, it does not attract followers on the basis of education or ideological fashionability.